Welcome to This is Israel. I'm Warren Lewis, and today we're going to be speaking about buying a home and buying a property in Israel. Our guest today is Selwyn Hare. Selwyn is from Home in Israel, powered by Keller Williams. Selwyn, welcome.
Thanks, Warren. Nice to be here.
Thanks for coming in. Maybe to start off with, you can give us a bit of a background about yourself, who you are, your company, your experience working in the property market in Israel.
All right. So we've been in the real estate business probably for the last 18 years. We're four partners. It's Julian, Eyal, Darren, Rich, and myself. We've been servicing the international market probably for those last 18 years, selling property in Israel to Jews around the world, being South Africa, England, Europe, America, Canada, South America, Australia, basically on all four planets, all four continents of the world. We understand what the client's needs are, and that way are able to give them a full turnaround key as to the property they need, understanding their needs, whether it's to buy a resale property, whether it's to buy something off plan. There are a lot of things involved in buying a property, and through our experience, we've basically we've made it simple for the client.
Now I arrive in Israel. Let's say I haven't bought before. I arrive in Israel and I want to buy a home. What are the first steps? How do I go about finding a property? Is it better to go through a website? Is it better to approach a company like yourselves to help me find something? And then can you just explain then the process?
All right. So the process is as follows. First of all, look, if you're going to come to Israel, everybody somehow thinks that the web, this happens all the time. So what's happening, people are going to come from wherever they are, and they're now looking for properties. First of all, when you come to Israel, you've really got to have something set up for you already. Yeah. You should have something set because you have to arrive at apartment. You have to give an address.
But let's say for example, like me, you arrived in a pre-arranged to rent with a view to buying. So I'm here now, and I'm here in Israel, and as an Oli, I decide to buy.
Okay, so if you're going to buy, first of all, yes, look, everybody can. You don't to see this, to show you this is a bathroom, this is a this is a that. Yes. You don't need a real estate agent. Yes. You don't need a real estate broker. Yes. Because you can see it for yourself. You can go onto. There are enough websites that you can go onto. The idea is, when you're dealing with a broker, the broker is actually going to find out exactly what your needs are. We're going to go down in order to specifically find the 2 or 3 apartments that suit you.
Right.
Now, according to those 2 or 3 apartments, we'll be able to take what you liked, what you didn't like, and put it down. Say, okay, so this is what you liked.
Yes.
From apartment number 1, you like this. From apartment number 2, you like this. From apartment number 3, you like this. So in that way, what we're doing is we're actually building, we're creating a profile.
Yes.
Of the apartment that you need, which is number 1. Then we're also creating the profile of the environment that you need.
There's OLE services, schools, shuls, all these kinds of
things.
Not
only shuls. Shuls is very simple. I mean, a shul's not a problem in Israel. A shul, from wherever you are.
I'm saying in terms of amenities around you.
But it's not only that. From wherever you are.
Yes.
I would say within 200 meters, you'll find 3 shuls.
Right.
And that's virtually all over Israel.
Yes.
But you've got to find the shul that suits you.
Right, absolutely.
So, for example, I'll give you an example. My shul in Ramat Poleg, the drosha goes out in English.
Yes.
Because there are so many Anglos. Now, that is something that would suit somebody who's an Anglo, someone coming. It wouldn't suit someone who's French.
Yes.
For somebody's French would want to go to a shul where they have a rabbi who's not Anglo.
Yes.
If we take the McDonald's shul, for example, the rabbi in Netanya is a South African, ex-South African.
Right.
So these are things that I can speak to you. That's just talking about shuls.
Yes.
Now you've got amenities. What are we looking for? Are you going to be driving? Aren't you going to be driving? What type of transportation do you need? Do you need to be close to a highway? Do you need access to the train stations?
Yes.
All these kind of things are things that the real estate broker knows, or at least should know.
Yes. So if I'm looking in a specific area, I should go to a local guy, make contact, and he will help me. So let's say you find me a place. It's a great spot. I love it. Everything around it. There's a great school for my kids. I decide that that's the place I want to buy. What is my next step?
Your next step after that is now to go and look at properties. Okay, to go and have a look at properties.
No, I'm saying once you found
the area.
I found the property.
Okay, so before the even
you've now shown me 3 spots. I've seen one that I love, and now that's the one that I want.
All right. So
how do I then start the process of buying that property?
Okay, the process is, first of all, it depends also if you're taking a mortgage or not taking a mortgage.
Right. So explain the difference.
Okay, so if you're taking a mortgage, first of all, I would get you approved for a mortgage before we even start looking.
With a bank here in Israel?
With a bank in Israel.
How hard is it to get a mortgage here? Or how easy is it to get a mortgage here? And what is the down payment?
Let's put it this way. Yeah. First of all, taking a mortgage in Israel, never mind whether you're living here or if you're still living abroad.
Yes.
If you're living abroad, you can still take a mortgage to buy a property in Israel based on foreign income.
Okay.
Okay, you can, but it has to be approved. You need SARS, you need a whole lot, or from South Africa you need SARS, from America they've got their other form from America, from England, they've got every country's got its own income forms, which you have to submit to the bank.
Right.
So the bank want to see that you can service the mortgage.
Okay, and what is their minimum requirement for servicing that mortgage?
So the general thing is that your net income is, or let's put it this way, that your bond repayment, your monthly repayment is not more than a third of your net income.
And would that be your own, or you and if you're married,
they look at it as a unit.
Right.
In Israel, generally speaking, by the way, even the apartment is bought, even if it's bought in your name, it's automatically belongs to your spouse as well.
Okay.
So it's just something that you considered a unit. It's a family unit.
Got it.
So it's the income of the family unit.
Okay.
If your bond can't be more than a third of your net income.
So they look at that, they see that our net income together is X, and the repayments would be Y, which is less than a third of our total income. They would then grant me a bond.
Correct.
Okay.
So what we say is, first of all, we'd say, okay, we'd come to you and we'll say, okay, a lot of people don't like doing it, but which I perfectly can understand. I'm not trying to get into your back pocket. I'm just trying to find out things so that we can make the whole deal easier and that we don't have stumbling blocks along the way.
So you will help me find that bond?
Absolutely.
And the agent will help me find that bond? I don't have to do it myself?
Most real estate companies, I'm sure, would do that. We definitely do that.
Okay.
In fact, we deal directly with, we have mortgage brokers who we deal with, who give us a special rate for clients who come through us.
Okay.
We work very closely with the big banks in Israel. One of which, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but one of which is we work very closely with Bank Mizrahi, which is probably one of the biggest mortgage banks in Israel.
Okay.
Very closely with them, where we're connected up to the guys up at the top. It's not that you're not going to we're going to pull strings for you, but we can shorten the process.
Got it.
And that's a lot.
So it's
that
a lot
means
less
a lot.
of a headache to do it through somebody who's...
It's no headache. We take the headache away from you.
Got it.
We take the headache away from you. Not only that, so we have we have legal advice from within, not from within the office. We have lawyers who we work with.
Yes.
Totally bilingual lawyers who can speak to you, the buyer, to explain the whole process as well. And the lawyer will do all the things regarding the mortgage, the signing the documents, and everything can be done through the lawyer.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got a mortgage approval, we now know what type of budget we're looking at.
Right.
So the mortgage approval is, in fact, even before we're going to look at a property. So now we found the property. Once we found the property, we can go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, and you can submit an offer.
In Israel, what is the maximum loan you can get from the bank?
All right, so in Israel, as a foreigner can get up to 50%.
Okay, so he would have to pay 50% himself.
50%, well, it's actually more because, and this is a very important thing, because you have other expenses as well.
Yeah.
In other words, as a foreigner, or anybody for that matter, you'll have purchase tax,
yes.
you have brokerage fees, and you have legal fees.
Okay, so I want to talk about the costs a little bit later.
Okay, now what I want to say is,
yes.
all those three things are not part of the mortgage.
Got you.
So the mortgage is the price of the apartment, and this is a problem. This is a thing that clients have come to us and said, yeah, but at the end of the day, all the extras
yes.
are not part of cannot be part of your mortgage.
Got you.
So it's the apartment
yes.
and the extras.
Okay.
The mortgage is 50% on the cost of the apartment.
Right.
And as far as the mortgage is concerned, for the other things, it has to come from your equity.
Okay. So that's regarding a non-Israeli.
Non-Israeli.
So as an Israeli,
you can get up to 75%.
Up to 70.
Up to 75%.
So I've got to come up with 25%.
25%.
Gotcha.
20. And again, it's the same thing. 25% plus the extras.
Now what? How will the bank determine whether I have to come up with 25% or 30%? Is there some kind of calculation or something that they do that allows me to get a higher percentage on my mortgage?
Well, if you want to you will tell the bank how much you want.
Yes.
So you can, but then again, it's going to affect your repayment.
Gotcha.
So the bank's going to come and say, well, hang on a second, according to your income, we can give you, on a property of a 2 million shekel, we can give you a 50% mortgage.
Right.
Because if you go to 60%, your repayment
go above the 1/3.
Is going to go above the third.
Got you.
And you have other liabilities and this and that. So therefore, you can only get a 50% mortgage.
Okay.
But these are the places where a mortgage broker can help. Because a mortgage broker will know exactly what other assets you have and
yes.
how to utilize assets. For example, a fund, we call it in Hebrew a keren hishtalmut. It's a fund for
yes.
6 years.
Like a savings fund.
It's like a savings. It's a savings fund that's there for 6 years, which becomes liquid,
yes.
tax free after 6 years.
Gotcha.
So he will know how to utilize that as part of your mortgage.
On your behalf.
So instead of having maybe one mortgage, you might have 3 or 4 mortgages.
Okay.
Okay, but that's what the mortgage broker's job is,
yes.
to get the maximum for you.
Gotcha. Great. So I've found my place. I've got my mortgage. You touched on something briefly. So I've got my repayments. Now, sometimes we think, okay, we're buying a house. This is my repayment. What other kind of costs can you expect to incur? Like what about things like, if you can explain, like mas rechisha,
purchase tax.
If you have to pay like kablan money, if you're buying off plan.
All right.
What other costs are going to pop up that are going to surprise me when I think, okay, I'm buying a house for 1.5 million shekel?
All right. So one of the important things through our company is when a client comes to buy an apartment, before he gives a green light to let's go ahead, he's actually in a situation where he says, okay, he gets a full list of the cost of the apartment, the cost of the attorney, the cost of the purchase tax.
Okay.
Everything that's going to come.
Is up front.
He'll know that up front.
Okay.
So that exactly, and I'll go even further. We normally put in as well to add in another 2,500-3,000 shekels for hidden bank fees. Because the banks are going to charge you this, and you're going to have a courier service that's going to have to deliver. The bank documents need to be delivered from one place to another place to be signed, for a caution note to be registered at the deeds office. All these things get done with a courier. So you're going to have courier fees here and there. So even though, so we add on an extra 2,500, maybe 3,000 shekels on the cost, so that a client knows that it's there. It's for little things. Yes. But at the end of the day, those little things add up.
Right, and they don't take you by surprise.
And they don't take you by surprise. Right. Yes, it's only 3,000 shekels.
Right.
But it's there. A shekel's a shekel at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Okay, so a client will get on a sheet as to what he's looking for. If he's buying it as an investment, we'll even give a client an estimated what his bond payment's going to be, what his estimated rent's going to be, and we'll try and work it so that the apartment actually washes its face. Another thing that you would have over there, is which we help with as well, is then 90% of the apartments that you're going to live in, they're going to have to be some kinds of renovations.
Okay.
Every wife, as we know, wants to have her mark. She wants to know, this is mine, and she wants to leave her mark, her brand. So there are going to be this, that, and the other. Even if there's an apartment that is magnificent, there's still going to be some things that are going to want to be changed. So we're going to go in there and we're going to sort out, we'll help you with whatever it is.
Okay.
So that before you actually put pen to paper, you'll know what the renovation is going to cost you.
Gotcha.
Depending on, we deal with, I'd say about 5 or 6 guys we work with renovations, all reputed guys. We have a whole team, in fact, of people who deal with the amenities, a plumber, electrician, handyman, full renovations.
Yes.
So that's all part, we have that as part of, they're not part of our team, but they're part of people who we would recommend, we trust and we would recommend, and you say, here's 1 or 2 of these guys, we'll get a quote from 2 or 3. You'll sit with them, you'll decide who you want to work with, who you want to feel comfortable with. And it's the same with a lawyer as well.
Yeah.
It's the same with a mortgage broker. We don't say, well, this is the guy we recommend. We'll give you 2 or 3, sit down with them, you see who you feel comfortable with.
Got it. So now, is there, in terms of those costs that we spoke about and the process, is there a big difference between, let's say I'm here and I'm renting now, I buy an existing property versus buying something off plan, something that hasn't been built yet that I'm prepared to wait for, I'm going to rent in the meantime. Is there a difference in terms of the costs incurred, those hidden costs that we spoke about, a different process?
Okay. So when you're buying from, as opposed to a lot of countries when you're buying off plan, there's no purchase tax.
Okay.
So in Israel, the purchase tax is irrelevant whether it's buying off plan, buying a second-hand, third-hand,
and it's not more or less either way.
No. There's a set fee for purchase tax.
Okay.
So the only thing with purchase tax is, which I'll get into at a later stage, we can discuss it if you want to, as an oleh.
Yes.
An oleh chadash has not an exemption, but gets a discount
on
his purchase tax.
Okay.
An oleh chadash gets a discount on the purchase tax. And a first-time Israeli buyer also gets a discount on purchase tax.
Gotcha.
Now, this is important to remember. You've now just made Aliyah.
Yes.
If you've made Aliyah, in actual fact, you have 2 rules that affect you as far as purchase tax concerned.
Okay.
But it's important to in which order you use them.
Okay.
Because if you use your oleh rule, your oleh right first, you're now no longer a first-time buyer.
Okay, got you.
You're now a second-time buyer. If you want to buy a second apartment,
right? So
if you're going to buy it's now going to, your second apartment is now going to be as not as a first-time buyer. It's a second-time buyer.
Yes.
Your purchase tax is going to be much higher.
Okay.
It's going to start off at somewhere around about 5%.
Okay.
It's gradual, but it's going to start off at about 5%.
Right.
If you're thinking of buying a second apartment,
yes,
you'd first buy your apartment. Your first apartment you would buy as a first-time buyer,
Okay.
Israeli,
Yes.
first-time buyer.
Okay.
Fine, you get your perks as a first-time buyer. You have the right for 7 years to use your perks as an Oleh Chadash.
Great. So I can buy that first property. I come here, I make Aliyah, buy the first property as an Israeli.
Yes.
But I've still got
First-time
for 7
buyer,
years.
but I'm a first-time
I've got my Oleh
buyer.
rights.
For 7
For
years,
7 years,
to
so-
buy a second apartment
Right.
without having to pay the 5% purchase tax.
So even if I don't sell the first property, I still get my Oleh rights buying the second property.
Exactly, because it's a different
Okay.
right.
It's very
It's a different
interesting.
right. It's an important thing. It's a
In
thing
both
that
ways, I get the discount when I buy as a first-time Israeli and as an
first
Oleh
time is
Chadash.
okay. Now again with the first time Israeli, if you're only going to buy one,
Yes.
but a first time Israeli, there's sometimes where it's not worth, depending on the price of the apartment,
Yes.
it may not be worthwhile using your Oleh rights
Yes.
even. Because as a first time buyer, your purchase tax, the calculation of a first time buyer as an Israeli is less than the
okay.
Oleh Chadash.
Okay, got you.
Okay, because with an Oleh Chadash, it starts off with a 0.5% from the first shekel.
Okay.
With an Israeli, there's a certain, I can't remember the exact figure. The lawyer, whoever you deal with the lawyer, will give you the exact figures and the breakdown as to how much.
Okay.
But at a certain figure, it goes the other way around. Rather, if you're only buying one apartment,
Yes.
maybe I won't even use the Oleh thing because of the value of the apartment. When the value reaches a certain height, a certain level, it's not worth using it. It's cheaper to take it. Or if you're going to buy a second apartment, buy your first apartment cheap, and your second apartment, the bigger, the expensive one, buy it as the Oleh Chadash.
Got you. So then back to my original question about the difference in cost between buying off plan versus buying an existing place.
So here there's no difference.
Okay.
The only thing is, when you're buying off plan, it also depends on what stage you're buying off plan.
Okay.
When you're buying off plan, the only thing is that in some developers, there is the price includes a registration fee, which is the developer's lawyer.
Okay.
Which the developer's lawyer charges for.
So this is an additional cost.
This is an additional cost.
Okay.
Okay. So if you're buying from a developer, you're still going to have the brokerage fee, your purchase tax, and your lawyer.
Right.
Your lawyer.
Yes.
A lot of people go and buy from a developer, and they say, well, we're paying. The developer will say to them, well, we have a lawyer. You can use our lawyer.
Right.
Well, it's basically asking the cat to look after the milk. That's the bottom line.
No, of course.
Okay, because it doesn't work.
Yes.
You get your own lawyer to look after your interests in the contract.
Gotcha.
There's certain things in the contract, I can tell you where we've had a lawyer has recommended, especially for a foreigner,
Yes.
has recommended, I don't recommend you buying the property.
Yes.
There's certain things that I'm not happy with.
Yes.
Now, it's not that the project's not good, but it's the way in this particular case, it was the registration of the property at the deeds office.
Gotcha.
Now, especially for a foreigner, someone who doesn't know the system, to come up with something like that is going to find it difficult in the long run.
Yes.
Today it may be fine, and everything could be fine. But in the long run, to get the property registered properly in your name, and at the end of the day, it's an apartment. It's not a bottle of Coke. That if the Coke's flat, you throw it out and go buy another one.
Right.
This is something that's expensive.
Big investment.
It's a huge investment. Never mind big. Trust me, I know. I deal with this. I see how many people. You're basically paying your bond on this thing.
Yes.
All your life.
Gotcha. How long is a bond? How long do you get your bond for here?
Depending on your age, a bond can be up to 30 years.
Okay, that's the maximum, 30 years.
But
yes.
up to the age of 75, but I think it can be pushed to 80.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, but I mean, you think about it. At 80, you don't have you think about having the headache of worrying about having to pay off your bond at the age of 80.
Gotcha.
I mean, so okay, but it's possible. Not many people carry it out until the age of 80.
Right.
But saying that, you don't want to be involved with all these things. So that's where your lawyer takes care of it. Yes, you have a lawyer, he takes care of it. He, she, whatever it is, they take care of it.
Got it.
Okay? So that's on when you're buying off plan or whether you're doing a resale.
Okay.
Exactly the same. The only difference in is you have the registration fee, which is now regulated by the government.
Okay.
It's now 5,000 shekels plus VAT. In other words, 5,850, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
That's a registration fee, which is paid, which is paid by the client, which is part of the cost.
Got you.
Other than that, exactly the same. That's as far as costs are concerned. But another thing that must be taken into account when you're deciding whether to buy off plan or to buy a resale is occupation.
Okay.
Because off plan, depending on when occupation is.
Right.
So you could be in a state, you've now arrived in Israel.
Okay.
You've got an apartment you've rented for a year.
Yes.
But
so I sign a lease because I'm thinking that my place is going to be ready in a year's time.
It could be. Well, I don't know if it's ready yet.
Does anything get finished on time?
90%, I will say 90% of the projects that I deal with get finished on time.
Okay.
Even now that we've had this last year of COVID, I can tell you that 90% of the projects that we are dealing with, occupation will be done on time, the transfer will be done on time.
And if not, you would just have to extend your lease, hopefully, where you are.
Yes. So first of all, what there is with this, there is by law, a developer is given 3 months grace.
So there's a cutoff and then he's got 3 months.
It's 3 months grace.
Got you.
If he hasn't delivered within the 3 months, there's part of the contract, which would be in 90% of the contracts, your lawyer would make sure that this is there, is that there'd be a compensation.
Okay.
Where the developer would then compensate the buyer.
So would I get a refund?
No, you will be compensated, not a refund, but you will get a refund of the 1.5 times the rental of that particular according to the market value.
Got it.
So if the apartment is worth 4,000 shekels, you would be entitled to 6,000 shekels from the fourth month.
Got you.
That's part of the contract. Now, another thing when buying from a developer, most important, is not only buying from somebody who is well known.
Yes.
The important part is buying what we call chok mecher. Chok mecher means there are bank guarantees.
Okay.
So when you're buying from a developer, it could be a developer who is well known, but doesn't have bank guarantees.
Okay.
Okay? Your money is not guaranteed. If something were to happen to the building during the course of the building, you could end up in trouble.
Right.
End of story. On the other hand...
So there's no insurance to cover me if something happens?
Now therefore, you would buy it through a project which has bank guarantees, which is known as, in Hebrew we call it chok mecher.
Okay.
This happened since the times of Hefziba. I don't know if any of the people have heard the name.
Explain that for the Anglos out there.
Okay, so there was a developer by the name of Hefziba who built, and all over Israel, sold property, and people paid them cash money under the table.
Okay.
The guy did a duck.
Okay.
Went mechula, did a duck, and thousands of people had lost everything.
Yes.
To such an extent, it affected the country so much that Israel actually went and brought him back from South America.
Okay.
Physically brought him back to stand trial.
Got you.
And he'll probably rot in jail.
So with all that, is it not then legislated that you have to have this?
Correct, but that's depending on how you buy the property. If the property is bought through what they call chok mecher, if you buy the property where there's bank guarantees, it's the most important thing to find out, are there bank guarantees? And these are the things that your lawyer will check for you.
Right.
Are there bank guarantees? Yes, no, thank you very much.
Got it.
Once there are bank guarantees, all is fine. Because First of all, in order to get the bank guarantee, the bank's going to check the developer out and make sure that money, the developer first of all has enough equity to complete the project.
Right.
Because the bank doesn't want to start looking. If the bank has to start financing and looking when getting money to do the bank's going to lose money.
Right.
And they don't want, so they're going to make sure that the developer, whatever checks you can do on the developer, trust me, the bank will do it 1,000 times better.
Got it.
Okay?
Yeah, of course.
So,
And they've got more resources than
see,
others.
they're Israeli, they're Jews. They know what to do. I mean, they know where to look and how to sort it out. They're not going to be caught with their pants down. Trust me, not the Israeli banks.
Okay, good.
So they're going to check it out. Besides which, you're not paying the developer.
Yes.
You're paying an escrow account in the bank. All your money is going to an escrow account in the bank. The bank is then giving the developer pocket money.
Right, to keep him going.
As he goes along according to stages.
Yes.
He gets to the second floor, he gets X amount. He gets to the 15th floor, he gets X.
Got it.
He does plastering, he does this. He finishes all the plumbing, he does this. He finishes the entire skeleton, he
Right.
gets. And not only that, after occupation, there's still 10% that's held by the bank.
Okay.
Only a year after, what they call after the Shnatbedek.
Yes.
After the whole building, all the tenants in the building have to sign that everything has been sorted out, because during the first year, your building moves.
Yes.
There's things, there's this, there's all kinds of snags.
Yes.
So after the first year, the builder comes through, the developer comes through the building, every single apartment, and they have to go through the snag list.
Yes.
Every single tenant, and they're going to sign it off. Only once that's signed off, only then does the developer get the final 10% of his money.
Got it.
So you're guaranteed over here. And that's one of the good things. If you're going to buy from a developer, my recommendation is get in at the bottom.
Yes.
Get in at the bottom. Pre-sale.
Right.
Because on the pre-sale, you're getting anything between 5 and 8% discount.
Okay.
On the pre-sale.
That's important to know. Okay.
Yes, it's 5%. Rock bottom. They aren't even their plans,
Yes.
but the plans haven't even been approved yet.
Got it.
So you're just doing a registration.
Yes.
Once everything happens, then you go ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the one thing. The other thing is, when you're buying, when you're coming in to buy for yourself within a year, it's much easier then. You've got time now to go and look for a resale.
Yes.
You can go, and because you've been approved for a bond,
Yes.
you know exactly what your finances are. You can now come to a seller, and you can negotiate. I can negotiate on your behalf.
Yes.
With a much stronger, with more force.
Okay, Selwyn, it's been really informative. Maybe to finish off, is there anything that we haven't covered? Anything else that you think is important to know? Something we should keep in mind?
Well, first of all, you should keep home in Israel in mind, number one. No, just joking. But look, at the end of the day, that's probably one of the things that I love about real estate.
Yes.
Every client is different, and every client has a different need.
Got you.
And in every single transaction that gets done has to be tailor-made.
Got you.
The important thing and the best advice that I could probably give anybody who's buying or even renting is to speak to a realtor.
Yeah.
Give him the information, the correct information, because at the end of the day, he will find the best deal for you according to your needs.
Great. Selwyn, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you coming in today, and it's been very informative. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure.